What's up, everyone? New haul came in last night. Two chainsaws, two new, not really new, pretty well used chainsaws. Picked these up from a guy who sold me some equipment a while back, some weed whackers and stuff, and he dug up these as well. So the other stuff panned out. I figured I'd try my hand at these. One here is Stihl MS, looks like 180 Charlie, and Husqvarna 440. Not huge, not terribly heavy, but they look complete. Didn't do too much inspection on these. We're gonna start digging in. I'll probably start with the Stihl. This has the blade guard, but gonna need some work. Chain totally stuck. Bar's loose, actually, come to see. Both do pull. Not sure about the compression, but I think I'm just gonna start breaking these down a little bit, get them cleaned up, and we'll go from there. I am kind of shocked. By some miracle, this saw ran with gas put directly into the cylinder. Took the top cover off. Air filter was in here. Actually, not too bad considering how the rest of the saw looks. So that's a good sign too, that it wasn't run without an air filter. Cleaned off the spark plug, the boot I kind of pulled off. This was the coil here was hard to wrestle off. Coil, whatever you want to call that. Spring it with thing. This was pretty rusty. I took it out of the wire, cleaned it with a wire brush, put it back in, took the spark plug out. Didn't inspect the inside much because it was pretty sooty, but it pulled over freely, which was a good start. No water in there. Didn't smell bad, nothing like that. So put a little bit of a mix in the cylinder, put the plug in, and gave it a couple pulls, and it ran for about 5 seconds. So I'm pretty flabbergasted with the way this saw looks. So we're off to a good start here. We've got compression, we've got spark, we've got timing, we've got air. Time to keep looking at the rest. A little bit of inspection here. Looks like there might be a broken wire. The kill switch is like a little arm here, it looks like. Maybe there's something that should be connected between here. This stud isn't going anywhere. I'm not too sure about that. I might have to dig into that a little bit more, but if that's just the kill wire, that's replaceable. Not sure where that's going or where that's supposed to go, but we'll dig into that later. I'm gonna keep, I got some other parts soaking in soap right now. The rest of the stuff, the bar, the chain, some other junk. So I'm gonna keep disassembling this, probably clean up the recoil because it's a little bit sticky. Just get some of this junk off of here. So we'll keep digging into this. Crime scene is getting a little bit dirty. I sufficiently made a mess when I left this bar oil cap off and flipped the saw over while working on something, but oh well. The parts are free that I wanted to get free. The worst part was these rubber boots that slot into these holes on the side of the saw have caps in them, and I don't know where one of the caps went, but you have to pry the caps out, and that kind of allows it to be loose enough that you can get this handle off. Huge pain in the butt. A little bit of lube helps, although they're just kind of stiff and hard to work with. So that was easily the worst part. Got parts in the washer cleaning up. Pull starter cleaned up quite nicely. I've got the rope out to let it dry, and I'm also going to blow out the coil spring so we don't get water sitting in there because those springs rust like crazy. So I'll get this handle cleaned up. Nothing looking too broken or bad yet. Everything seems to be intact. No metal shards, no stripped screws, nothing like that. So we're in good shape so far. Probably get the exhaust off next. Maybe clean up this body a little bit more. Just inspecting. Probably get the carb off too. We'll just take a look in there. Next up will be kind of the guts of the fuel system to take a look at. We'll get the carb maybe apart. Yeah, we'll probably take the carb apart. Let's get that off and get the exhaust off. That'll give us a little bit of a cylinder inspection port. We can check the spark arrestor, check the exhaust, make sure nothing's funky there, clean up the exhaust. That'll give us more access for cleaning. So we will continue. Much, much, much cleaner. Still some junk in the nooks and crannies, and this is like, I don't know, looks like brick dust or something. It's about that color. I don't know what this junk is. It's really solidified to the machine. I don't know. I might just leave that. Maybe try to scrape it off. No idea. But with the exhaust off, we can take a look inside. Cylinder, or rather piston, looks good. Oh, got some water in there when I was washing, so got to dry that out. But piston looks quite good. Yeah, the light isn't great, but piston looks good. The far side of the cylinder looks good. I checked it with a light. No damage there. So we're in good shape here. Got the carb. I tried to take the carb off, and it looks like you can't slide it all the way off without removing this spindle here. And what's holding that in is this piece of wire that's kind of hammered through this plastic nub down there. And so I'm not going to mess with that unless I need to. But the diaphragm is soft. Nothing feels wrong in here. I can't inspect the reed valves, which could have a problem, but if the diaphragm's in good shape and the reed valves are made of the same material, the kind of rubber stuff, it should be fine. So I think I'm going to start cleaning, or finish cleaning this up and start putting it back together, and let's see if we can just put some fuel in this and get it to run. The other thing was the fuel line looks in good shape. It's still pretty soft, not petrified at all. I also realized it's one big assembly. It's not like I can just snake a new line through on like I can on most saws. Here's the top of the line, and then the bottom is this boot here. This goes through the fuel tank. So I don't know what that is. That a round hole? Actually, I could replace that. Yeah, if that's just a round hole and I have a right diameter fuel line, that'll seal through there. So I'm not going to mess with that unless I need to. So I think I'll let that ride for now. But I'm going to keep cleaning these other parts and start putting this back together. We'll get some fuel in and check it out. I'm pretty impressed. Well, maybe impressed with myself or impressed with the saw. So I was running. I worked on this for about 3 hours, and I think in my last clip I had it kind of blown apart. But what did I do? Got everything back together, or most, probably 70-80% together. Enough to try to get it started. Trigger, of course, carbs all put together. Got fuel in. Looks so much cleaner too. And it ran. It took a little bit of a couple things. There's no primer or purge bulb on this, so the way you normally start something like this without a purge bulb is keep it on choke and just keep pulling the handle until it cycles fuel through. I think by having the choke on, it puts a little bit more of an impulse into the fuel tank. Maybe not, maybe it's just to help it start with low fuel. So that's how you get the fuel to run up into the carb. And then I also put some starter fluid down the intake, and it took about 15 or 20 pulls and started. And I turned the idle down way low because I noticed that it was still, the clutch was still spinning even at a very low idle. Now this isn't super representative of the real load because the bar and chain aren't on it. And that's what makes these hard to kind of bench test and tune, is that you really have to have them fully assembled. And so I'm here in my basement. I don't really want a fully assembled chainsaw and chain running. So I'm gonna maybe check on this a little bit more. I did grease the bearing, the needle bearing in here. I might check it again, just make sure it's as loose as it can possibly be. But that could be the issue there, that this feels like it should be spinning a little bit more freely, because otherwise it's going to be hard to start. If this is trying to engage and drive the chain even at idle, it's going to be hard to start. It's going to idle weird. So it might run okay at full throttle, but it's not going to idle right. So I got to get that loosened up. Or maybe the solution, like I said, is to get the chain and bar on there, get those tightened to spec, and then that will facilitate this. But this just feels a little bit stiff. I feel like this should be spinning a little bit more freely. So I'll clean that up a little bit more, and we'll take a look at it. That's pretty much a wrap for this one. Came back to life. Much better than I anticipated. Runs well, and the bar and chain cleaned up pretty darn well. Plenty of paint chips. I hit the bar with a little bit of a wire brush as I did the chain. The chain looks pretty new. It was just a bit rusty. It's still quite sharp. Bar's not in the best condition. Chain is fine, but it seems to work just fine. It's, you can slide it along. Means the clutch loosened up, the grease kind of burned in a little bit. So it's in good shape. Oiler is working. I made a mess, as bar oil always does, seems to get everywhere, but I'm gonna give this another quick cleanup since it made a mess of the whole thing. My other discovery was, the chain tensioner is a very weird mechanism. This like spiral thing. It works well, but it's a little bit, I don't know, a little bit weird. What else? Over here, I was a little bit mistaken on how to stop this. I saw the stop sign here and I thought it was this, like rotate this or something, and there was a kill switch. I was wrong about the broken wire in here. That's not true. Actually, it's this 0 on the top here is off. And so down one notch is on, all the way down is choke. And then while it's running, you push this in. It's actually kind of hard to do, but you push this in and then it pops up to here, to the off position. Maybe that's purposeful, so it has a strong detent to stay in the off position. I'm not sure, but that is that. So this is just about ready to go. Oh, I have to clean the bar cover, but anyway, this is ready to live a long, happy life sitting in somebody's garage for 3 years until they decide to use it, and it won't start because it was sitting for 3 years. But that's just about a wrap for this one. So thanks for watching. Hope you learned something. I certainly learned a lot, and got pretty lucky with this one. Didn't need any parts, just a good cleanup. And I'll bring it outside to tune. I'm not going to do that here. Really need to get it on some wood and do some cuts to dial it in. So that's about the last step. I'm about 95% of the way there. So that's all for this one. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.